This is the Constitution of the United States. And I look like this, I guess, this relic, this constitutional relic who keeps holding things up. Because what I'm telling you right now, what I'm seeing that's happening on college campuses, of all places, college campuses, scares the hell out of me. What I'm seeing is people wanting to throw away our freedom of speech because they don't like the subject matter. Now, I'm going to say something to you, and you might not like it. There is nothing against the law, or there is nothing verboten about being anti-Semitic, uttering something that is anti-Semitic, thinking something that is anti-Semitic, or being anti-Semitic. And if you can define that for me, really define it into an operable, operationally suitable statute, good for you. Oh, and by the way, the same thing goes for being racist or homophobic or transphobic or anything along those lines. You can think anything you want. You can believe anything that you want. You can be as stupid or as mean or as hateful or as racist or as awful as you are, as long as, and you know what's coming, as long as you never take that hatred or anything or love and reduce it or use it to incite violence or to commit violence. You could say, I'm beating this man's brains in, not out of hate, but out of love for my country. Because he stands in the way of my country and greatness. And because I love my country, I'm going to brain this guy. No. I cannot believe that a leader of another country would come to our government and say, by the way, tell your students not to say anything. Tell them. And what's also incredible to me that nobody either nobody notices it or nobody cares about it, or maybe they might think, oh, this is a bit too conspiratorial for them. But what we have here, as we say in the biz, are a bunch of agents, provocateurs, people who are paid to make things worse, to incite riots, to incite violence and mayhem and the destruction of personal property and real property and institutional property. Now, when you've got a riot going on, what was it, Sly Stone? There's a riot going on. Burn, baby, burn. Remember that from the Watts riots? Mr. Montague, remember that? When you have a cacophony of chaos, you're not going to be able to say, now, who exactly is in charge here? And what exactly is the motivation? And what exactly is the message? No. But you always err on the side of allowing and permitting peaceable and peaceful debate and demonstration. That's it. But whenever you do that, and this is not just necessarily these kids or these people or our generation or our iteration, I should say, of generational iteration. What I'm saying here, and what's critical to know, is that these folks do not necessarily involve themselves, what am I trying to say, in They're not to be removed from the calculus of free expression, but you've got to ask yourself the question, okay, all of this stuff aside, come here. Now come here, Moondog or whatever your name is. They're going to throw you out of college. They're going to expel you. They're not kidding. Do you really want to do this? I'm not saying the cause isn't important. I'm not saying the cause is baseless. Do you really want to do this? Your parents or you or somebody's been paying close to $100K. You're going to be in debt. And by the way, the debt that you've incurred, it's still going to be with you. What are you doing? You're being set up. They mean business. I know you're right, and I understand that you have a real sense of commitment to the cause, and I know that you have an absolute focused commitment and a desire to make your statements known, to be a part of this incredible human mosaic, this quilt, this patchwork quilt of humanity all over the world. I understand that. But remember something. When all is said and done, and you're bounced out of Columbia or Emory or UCLA, and you have this record, and you may not be able to get a job because things are different now. When your parents or your grandparents protested in 1968 at Columbia, things were different. It was a different time then. They were lauded. They were part of a generation that stopped the war. There was music. There were POW bracelets that we wore. There was it was a zeitgeist. It was a collective feeling that permeated every stratum of society. Everything, everybody, every race, every gender, every sexual inclination or permutation. It was, at least the cause was, now how you did it, different story. The Vietnam towards the end, bring our boys home. Oh, come on. It only took, 15, 20 years if you consider the whole event. But eventually it wound down. The black movement, civil rights, the same. Most Americans look at Dr. King and, Medgar Evers and others as being one particular aspect of this. Rap Brown, Stokely Carmichael, the Panthers, Malcolm X, sort of in the middle. See how history, you see how we have these different designations of certain protests that when I say we, not me, not you. Look, the average American voter is over 55 without a college education. Do you think this person is able to really grasp the notion of the Palestinian cause? Do you think? Really? If I said to them, Palestinian, what do they think of? What, bin Laden? I have no idea. You got to understand something. Americans, please don't take this the wrong way, are stupid and ignorant. And they look at this as a bunch of spoiled, entitled kids screwing everything up and breaking things. And if you had to ask the average American, what does the average American say about Israel? What do you think about Israel? Well, and that's it. They couldn't tell you, where did Israel start? Well, was it always there? Look, this is the American. They know about the Holocaust. They know about that particular terrible historical antecedent. But in terms of the Balfour Declaration in 1917, they don't know. They just view this as, look, everybody's after them. They're surrounded by their enemies. They have the right to defend themselves. Hamas is a terrorist organization. October the 7th was a terrorist act, and they've got to do whatever they do to protect themselves. And frankly, if these people in Gaza knew we were smart, they'd kick Hamas out, and they'd stop. Hey, you can't use our tunnels and our facilities and our hospitals and universities as human shield missile batteries, and that's all they know. That's all they know. And if you told them, do you have any idea of what has been said and documented by people for 75, 76 years? When you hear people talk about the Nakba, we know about the catastrophe. But if you hear intifada, or as one congresswoman called it, infatada, which is like a tostada, sort of, and a tortilla, sort of combined. But anyway, that's from the word to shrug off, to shake off, like a dog shaking water off. It's like shaking off the occupation. But if you say intifada, that means everything. Just like the word jihad, nobody really Remember the great oxymoron, Islamo-fascist, which, what? Anyway, see, Americans don't get this. They see snapshots, momentary little pixels, little orts of memory, little blasts of information. But in the meantime, when all is said and done, when the people have moved on and graduated or left or done whatever they do, when they've cleaned up the mess, what's going to be the remnant, the catastrophe, our own catastrophe, the major casualty of this is going to be free speech. This McCarthyism, this weaponization, throwing around the word, anti-Semitic. There's metal fatigue. This word doesn't make sense anymore. How do you explain people, Jewish people who were sitting at these events, how do you call them anti-Semitic? Or if they're anti-Zionist, is that anti-Semitic? Oh. Not too far from me is, in fact, a couple of blocks, is Times Square. If you and I went to Times Square, we had $1,000. We said, can anybody explain to me the basic rudimentary history of Palestine, Israel? But anybody want to know about can you define Zionism? Do you know what this is? Is that the same as Judaism? Is it the same as, what's the difference between Judaism and Jewish and Semitic? And what is a Semite? And are Gazans and Palestinian Semites? And is the word, good luck. But just remember, when all is said and done, when we're done, when we just, kind of walk away from everything, and everybody goes away, the main casualty, the headstone, will be, here lies freedom of speech. Here lies the First Amendment. 1776, well, theoretically, to 2024. Think I'm exaggerating? Not even close.